First piece of good news is I'm showing absolutely no charts, and that there's a consulting ophthalmologist in the lobby at lunch hour for any of you who need eye attention. The second piece of good news is I'm not doing a somewhat miniaturized version of a canned road speech. These ideas didn't exist 2 weeks ago. This is the first public presentation, and so on, and I'll try to be brief because lunch is awaiting. As Sam mentioned, I did a big exhibition on Vancouver city building that appeared in London, Paris, and then was changed, expanded, and showed here at Woodward's during the Olympics. I'm now writing a book about Vancouver. I could have just done a catalog showing those projects, but I want to stand back in the book and get under the skin of Vancouver. How do we think? What's behind the city? What's behind the waves of projects that appear here? And I've been writing some essays that get under the skin of Vancouver. One of them was kind of previewed last year at the Vancouver Art Gallery in an exhibition called We Vancouver. And they commissioned me to write a manifesto, a retroactive manifesto for Vancouver. I called it Hybrid City, and I argued that our city is one of hybrids. Hybrids of races, hybrids of forms of dwelling, social groups, etc. Hybrid building forms, as we heard today, Save on Foods, Home Depot, village of 400 people on the roof. These things don't exist elsewhere. So Hybrid City is one of my essays. The most recent one I've just been writing at the Banff Center in Alberta. I'm calling it Meme City. And I got very, very interested in the idea of the city as a place of the creation of new ideas. And especially in this Twitter-obsessed conference, etc., viral, flash, snappy, instant ideas that go global. So I looked at Vancouver as a place that produces memes. What are we as we're failed really and never a contender as an industrial city. We've never been a great manufacturer. We have surprisingly, stunningly few head offices other than mining companies. Huge difference between us and Seattle, for example. Same size, same kind of history, same region. We do some things well. City building is a great expertise, and we export it globally. And we've, unfortunately, though, become a one-industry city, and that industry is real estate. So I'm writing my book for a time 2 years hence when it's published, and the city will probably be in a bit of a funk vis-a-vis real estate. And I think it's important that we stand back and think about what else do we do in the city other than build and push housing ever higher and ever more expensive. So the idea of meme came through. The idea of meme has been revived. It's a neologism invented by the biologist Richard Dawkins, 1976, in his book, Selfish Gene. You think gene is to biological information as meme is to cultural information. In other words, it's an idea that is transmitted and transmogrified through culture. So I'm looking at Vancouver as a place that produces ideas. In the essay, I look at 5 ideas, all Vancouver generated, that have gone global. And I do believe that these set of 5 ideas are deeper than just a random list. They dwell upon our core values as a city, as a culture. They are unique to Vancouver. They're created here, nurtured here, and then go global. Try to come up with a list of 5 memes like this for any other Canadian city. I defy you, I couldn't do it. Find 5 global ideas like these that have shaped things elsewhere. So briefly, just for sake of time, I'm going to truncate this and just go through the last 40 years. Back to Greenpeace. There were environmental organizations before Greenpeace, the Sierra Club and so on existed. Greenpeace really, in many ways, started as a peace organization. I was a high school student in Edmonton. I took part in a march against the Amchitka cruise missile tests, etc. And then those campaigns were united with Save the Whale and other campaigns. So you have peace on the one side, the pacifist essence, and then green. And also even the name, Greenpeace, the contraction of the 2 words, is now so common we think of it as universal. Back in the early 70s, this was a breakthrough conception to weld pacifist values with an activist environmental organization. That idea went so global that its world headquarters left Vancouver and moved to Amsterdam, largely for financial reasons. Cyberspace. Again, a word that we now think of as being eternally present, etc. It's a neologism invented by a Vancouver-based science fiction writer, and I think one of our city's most interesting thinkers, William Gibson. It started off in a short story called Burning Chrome in 1982, but most famously, it was used throughout this novel, Neuromancer. Now, the interesting thing, William Gibson did not invent the internet any more than Al Gore did, but what William Gibson did perceive and understand was that this environment of information would shape us. We would become different by virtue of existing in an environment of constantly available information. And the book, in many ways, is a speculation on what that means. You can't read the fine print, but key phrase is cyberspace, a consensual hallucination experienced daily by billions of legitimate operators in every nation, so on. So cyberspace, an idea born in Vancouver by a creative thinker who chose to live here, left the United States because the Vietnam War, came here, and has shaped our language of the digital environment. There's Bill Gibson near his home in Point Grey. And he writes beautifully, by the way, about Vancouver and why he chooses to live here. Next one, Generation X. Douglas Copeland was very, very briefly my student at Emily Carr, and I've known him for a long, long time before he wrote the book. It's one of those handles, one of those phrases, again, filled a gap. He was always interested in design and culture and change, et cetera, worshipped Andy Warhol as a student, et cetera. And Generation X has gone on globally now to name an entire generation, probably two. Generation Y seems to be filling the next gap. So, a Vancouver-generated global meme. Here's an example of, unfortunately, what I would call meme art. This is a Douglas Copeland designed public art piece down by the convention center. I think it's a bit of a one-liner. Sometimes memes are that. Memes are so simplified for transmission, they have no content. This is kind of the Lego digitized, pixelated orca jumping out of the plaza. A lot of Doug's work these days is public art. Behind it are two towers by one of this afternoon's speakers, Jim Chang, Shaw Tower on the right, Fairmont Pacific Rim on the left. Which leads me to the next meme. Vancouverism, I would argue, is itself a meme. It was not invented by a writer. It was invented collectively in the mass mind, probably internet-based. No one can figure out who invented it. It started to appear in the United States about 12, 13 years ago. Planners and architects, American architects, would talk about Vancouverizing their city. By that, they meant increased density, increased an amenity with that density to make it livable. So Vancouverize, the verb, morphed into Vancouverism, the ideology. There's only two cities in North America that are an ism, Manhattanism, Vancouverism. It would be impossible to do a Torontism because Toronto does many things. In fact, it's not necessarily a compliment. Memes are not necessarily always positive. Toronto does many good city building things. We do a few things well, maybe too few, and we talk about that later. So Vancouverism was the name I gave to my exhibition about city building in Vancouver the last couple decades. It opened in London, involved models, videos, artifacts from buildings, et cetera. And then, very interestingly, I rejigged the show for the Vancouver audience. Courtesy of West Bank, I got to use the Woodward's atrium as the first location. I will not pause for a definition of Vancouverism, but it was there on that slide. This is the show installed. Our installation design very carefully left gaps. It was a two-sided table with the models. And the idea is you would very consciously see other people on the other side of the table. They were bringing the people into the architecture, into the city, and talking about the human component of Vancouverism. And just another view of the installation in Woodward's of the Vancouverism show. Global meme. This meme has spread around the world to other cities. unmediated by editors in New York, London, unmediated by Harvard or Stanford. We're in a new world where ideas spread globally quickly without the gatekeepers that used to exist. This is the Dubai Marina Project, Dubai, which is not kind of, sort of like Vancouver. It is directly cloned from Vancouver by Vancouver-based urban designers, marketers, and so on. First phase of Dubai Marina, there's a seawall in Dubai. And those are exactly, and by the way, it's a much better seawall, better restaurants, more of them, more fun, more diverse people. The copy has eclipsed the original. And this is an out-of-date photo, about 5, 6 years old, but showing the False Creek, or as I call it, Very False Creek, the artificial water body constructed in the desert around which the tower on podium, Vancouver-style towers have been built. So a meme that goes from being collectively invented, 2001, to, by the end of that same decade, being built in another part of the world. Finally, Occupy. Again, it's a great story. Kali Lassen, born in Estonia, grows up in Australia, studies there, goes to Japan, works as an ad man for a while, marries a Japanese wife. Where do you live after all that? He chose Vancouver. Came here, worked as a documentary film producer, and founded the magazine Adbusters. Occupy was invented. The date was July 13th last year. A posting on the Adbusters site said, are you ready for a Tahrir moment, for Tahrir Square, the Arab Spring? Setting the date, September 17th. Read that posting. It's the whole template, the whole idea of Occupy was invented here. Now, and this is the Vancouver version from the art gallery. Quite a wonderful. Now, memes can be shallow, one note, etc. Will there be substance to Occupy? Is it really comparable to Greenpeace? We don't know yet. I might be a little skeptical about that. However, we're in a world which functions and uses memes as ways to build cities, amongst other things. I'll pass on this just to go to a kind of closing couple remarks. In my view, the density dialogue in Vancouver is failing, and unnecessarily so. I think that the construction, I think Sam's quite brilliant construction of echo density was good in its time, and it was rolled out with a passion by Brent, et cetera. But the last few years with the STIR debate, with the Rise Tower debate, et cetera, the whole discourse has changed. And I do think that what's been missing is we haven't been invoking a positive agenda, a positive message about how we live in cities. For example, cities are safer for women at high densities. We have to go back and build a positive agenda for density and get a little bit away from the urban geographers and ecological arguments that have driven the debate so far. So you could take meme plus echo plus density, and you could do memeco density, but that sounded like a nickel plating process for your automobile. So here we are, true to the meme world and the memicity of contemporary life. I give you today a new word, a meta-meme, a meme about meme. Propose the word memicity, which is the condition of generating and growing viral-like cultural ideas or memes. Also, meme city, a city conducive to memes, originally Vancouver. Coined today. Thank you very much.